since I'm in the middle of a tirade, we might as well go on to the next tirade item. I think I'm going to make myself a little box that says soap on it. Because part of the lecture should actually be given from the soapbox. Either that or I need to bring in a pulpit. Because this is the sort of do I hear an amen, brothers and sisters stuff. Okay? This is the transition from math to your future. Proxy, huh? Preach it. Proxy variables. Remember, again, we are not going to have experimental data. The variables we have might be the actual causal variables influencing the criterion, or they might be correlates of the causal variables. Proxy variables. Now again, we got to be careful. The word proxy variable appears lots of places and mean lots of things. Most of the time when I say it, I mean it's some variable that ain't is correlated with the causal agent that we wish we had in the model. You can also broaden that to mean any time we couldn't measure one thing and brought some correlate with it instead. But I want to remind you that there is cause in the universe, and we are trying to represent that cause even though it's hopeless. Okay, that was a little too cynical. Many of the subject variables that are very common in multivariate modeling are of this ilk. Is it really sex? Is it really Y chromosome? Is it really melanin? Is it really how long you've been on the planet that are driving the criterion? Or is it all the differences in experiences, opportunities, or other correlates of these variables? When we say there's a gender effect, what the hell do we mean? Oh, there's a race effect on that. What the hell's that mean? You with me? I'm not saying don't do cultural psychology. I mean search your soul for what the hell you mean. Is it really the number of practices? Is it really the number of practices? Number of practices is my world. I spend all of my devious time trying to figure out how to get one more rep out of you. What little pink exercise? What change on the homework? What reappearing slide? How can I get one more rep? Because time on task is the biggest dog there is in the overall prediction and creation of better long-term learning. But is it really the number of practices or the things that produce the number of practices that were chosen? Because most of the time you decide whether or not you're going to do that last practice. Is it just how motivated you are and that motivation is going to be there whether you do that practice or not? See the problem? This is proxy variables. Replication and convergence, trying alternative measures of the involved constructs, can help decide if our predictions are representing what we think they do. My favorite example of a really shitty proxy variable, I was reviewing this article for one of the ed journals, and they kept talking about the importance of controlling for student intelligence. They're studying how different approaches to instruction would have impact on test scores. Meaningful. And they said, what really matters is how just basically smart somebody is. We have to control for intelligence. And then they talked about controlling for intelligence, and they talked about having controlled for intelligence. And I couldn't remember reading in there anywhere the things that I think of as intelligence measures. Okay? Full-scale IQ measures. Be nice. I'll take a Woodcock if I have to. Maybe even a quick test, which is a vocabulary proxy for intelligence, but it's correlated pretty well. It tends to perform very similar to Woodcock-Johnson's, not quite as good as full-scale IQs, but you can live with these things. So I go looking back through. Do you know what they used as the proxy for intelligence? GPA. Ooh, may have to edit that out. You with me? Watch out when people say we're gonna in the introduction, we did in the discussion. Make sure you know from the methods and the results what that did was. All right? Proxy variables might not be what you want. The Journal of Education back in the 70s came out with sort of a letter from the editor which said that variables that are substituted for unavailable variables should be correlated at least 0.3 with the variable that they are representing. That means you can be me if you can do 9% of what I do. Do you see a problem with that? Okay, I think my wife might. In a sense, proxy variables are a kind of confounds because we are attributing an effect to one variable when it might be due to another. We can take a similar effect to understanding of proxy variables that we do to understanding confounds. We have to rule out specific alternative explanations. Remember, that's what we do in non-experimental research. In experimental research, we randomize, and all subject variables are taken care of. No. Sorry. Let's just make that not happen again. Let's see, that would be that one. Okay. Sorry about that. When we've got true experiments, we randomly assign to take care of subject variables. We lock down the procedures except for the IV to control for ongoing equivalence. We're cool. A pushes B. When we can't do that, we try to rule out specific alternative explanations. We match for specific things. We hold specific things constant. Later in the course, we'll statistically control for specific things. Let's say that we find a correlation between gender and performance that's 0.4. Is it really gender? Motivation, amount of preparation, and testing comfort are some variables that have gender differences and are also related to performance. So we can't tell from a gender performance correlation whether it's Y chromosome, motivation, which differs between males and females in most classes, amount of preparation, which differs between males and females in most classes, or testing comfort, the difference between males and females in most, and there's more. I'm just bringing up 3 because the page is only so big. So we run a multiple regression with all 4 as predictors. Gender, motivation, amount of preparation, and testing comfort. If gender doesn't contribute, then it isn't gender, but it's the other variables. If gender contributes, we still don't know that it's gender. But we do know that it's the part of gender that isn't motivation, amount of preparation, and testing comfort. Make sense? We still can't say it's gender, but we can say what it isn't. How we doing? It's a longer road this way, but it's our only real shot.